Welcome to our Sagittarius podcast for Transcending the Negative Mind. Thank you for walking with us throughout this astrological sacred journey, which we're soon to complete. I'm Julia Melville, energy worker, psychotherapist, Kundalini yoga teacher, helping other souls to release trauma and negativity from their bodies, to understand the repetitive stories and patterns of behavior they experience, bringing more flow and joy into life. I'm delighted to be joined again by Zoe Hind. Zoe is an amazing soul astrologer, well-being coach, and personal trainer. Welcome, Zoe.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Looking forward to today.
Yep, so we're well ensconced in the Sagittarian energies, and this is the last of our series. So we've walked all the way from Capricorn all the way around to Sagittarius, which ends on the winter solstice. So Sagittarius is old winter fire. It's Sagittarius. It's to do with wisdom. We've walked a cycle. We've gathered all the information. And we've got to the center, really. Sagittarius is all about getting to the center, getting to the message, getting to the heart. So we can see this replicated in our festivities as we sit around the hearth fire. And you'll notice that heart and hearth are the same word. We sit around the central fire and we share generosity, food and gifts. And we look into the flames and we remember times that have gone on. And there's an ancestral shamanic aspect to that as well. When people sit around the fire, they can tell stories. Sagittarius loves to tell stories. And it's a very connective aspect, just like your heartbeat is the hearth fire of your body, which takes you back through your ancestral line because you're the current expression of all those that went before you. And on an ancestral level, they would have sat around the campfire or the central fire as their communal ritual and celebration. So that's the essence of Sagittarius, really. Fire is an expansive element. So as the sun gets reborn at the winter solstice, the sun has got the furthest to go, the furthest to expand up to the summer solstice. And the general archetypes of the collective consciousness of Sagittarius are therefore expansion and travel and gathering information and sharing and remembering. So that's the essence of both Sagittarius and Christmas and the season that we're in at the moment.
Lovely. That's really lovely to have a roundup of all that it is. And we're going to dive in a bit deeper to what all that means. I love this time of year with the evenings being darker and the weather crisper and cooler. And we've had fantastic colours here this year in Scotland. Golds, yellows, reds and coppers, colours of the fire. Stunning. And it's magical to watch the trees transform into their next phase, knowing that although their branches look bare, underneath the ground, they're resting and nourishing their energies, ready for the burst of new leaves and new life in the spring. And as Zoe, you said earlier, Sagittarius is about the fire within and connection with self. And in today's modern world, it's so easy to get caught in the rushing around and at this time of year, the materialism of our modern world. We're currently living in very challenging times and strong mental health is so important. There is a lot of change going on around us. How do you find yourself in these changes? Are you able to embrace these changes or do you find they can weigh heavy on you? When we resist the changes, we suffer within. When the fire within is negative energy, resentment, anger, rejection, we suffer. When we are in this energy, you have no relationship with self. Sagittarius is opposite Gemini, mental distraction, which is the Gemini aspect. And Zoe, I wonder if you'd like to say a bit more about that.
Yes, certainly. So this year we've been looking at not just the signs, but their opposites. And we all have every sign in our chart. So this video isn't just for Sagittarians. So Gemini is the processing mind, summer air sign that buzzes around and interacts and finds its information in immediate format. So think of your processing mind. It's a stream of consciousness. And once we become the observer, we can see what thoughts we're having and transcend them. But like I say, Sagittarius likes to go and gather and research and actually get to the point of the information, the deep message and meaning. So Sagittarius is a lot more centered, a lot slower, and really wants to find the wisdom and the knowledge in what's being said. rather than just communicate for the sake of communication. So Sagittarians can be quite blunt and to the point. And this is because the arrow of Sagittarius astronomically points direct to the galactic center. So that's really saying get to the point, get to the heart of it. And one way that we can work with the Sagittarius mind is to slow down, to take our time, to ask, why is this relevant? What does this mean? And there's a wonderful heart space that we can actually achieve, which is neutral. There's absolutely nothing wrong with neutral. So as you're saying, we're living in very complicated times. There's so much communication, there's so much distraction. But sometimes to just sit back, have a reflection, be neutral and observe 360 degrees everything that you're taking in, then you'll find that your consciousness takes you to the point, why this matters, what the relevance is, and even if it's true, because Sagittarius loves truth.
Yes, that's lovely. And what I'm thinking while you're talking is this is really about how we connect with ourselves and connect with the energies that are within us and understanding ourselves. When we're disconnected from ourselves, we feel fatigue, headaches, and a general malaise. And the translation of malaise is pain, suffering, sorrow, anxiety. This is the relationship that we carry around with ourselves if we don't have a strong relationship with self. If we think about the words pain, suffering, sorrow, and anxiety, they have a heaviness about them. And when we continue to have that feeling of malaise, this can develop into disease and sickness as the body starts to struggle with carrying it all. In these current times, a lot of our traditions are being shaken to the core. This time is a good time to think about what matters in your life. Who do you want to be with? Who don't you want to be with? What would you like to change? Take control, knowing that there is choice in everything we do. We have to be mentally fit to survive, and being mentally fit means knowing ourselves and being able to ride the waves. Questions to ask yourself are, what are your true values? What legacy do you want to leave behind? Remembering that the stories we tell ourselves run on fear, run on the past and past experiences. Who is running your stories, and how much are you running your old stories? Sagittarius is about higher knowledge. This is the time to bring in a new way of thinking, expansiveness. How can you move your story forwards? How open are you to new possibilities? Check in with yourself to see what changes you're resisting. What if all that is happening now is to help us shift and live at another level of evolution? And this isn't about denial about what is happening now, but we can get lost in the fear and the stories. It's so easy to get lost in the storm of now. And when we're in the storm, we can't see clearly. When we're in the storm, it's lonely and we feel disconnected. The irony is that when we dive in and start to create a steady and strong relationship with self, it means that when we do have feelings of loneliness or anxiety, we have resources to support ourselves. We are all in this together, and if we never change, we won't evolve. A teacher of mine recently said, don't take a position, don't take a for or against, reflect on what is happening and then feel it out. Have discernment. The dictionary meaning of discernment is the ability to judge well. Where there is no discernment, we miss the magic. Thinking in a different way helps us to embrace and be curious rather than be fearful.
So we've got that constant thinking mind, which will always be in the past or the future. And that's very much the realms of the mind. That's where your anxiety and malaise will come from, is that if you've had a negative or perceived a negative experience in the past, then the fear part of the brain says, I must remember this, I must keep repeating it so that I don't repeat it in the future. But Sagittarius teaches to go with the heart. And at this time, that's the presence of Christmas. Christmas is all about presence. And like you say, just observing, just being neutral, just feeling it out. So now we're looking at a higher aspect of mind, which is consciousness. So to get the mind to do the work for us should always just be what's the best use of my energy today. But it's our consciousness that feels, it's our consciousness that actually knows right from wrong, that can discern the information that we're receiving and distill it down into its potent point. So that would be a really good exercise this month. If you're taking on a lot of information, if you're living in the past or anxious for the future, then just to sink into your conscious awareness. You're the observer, and everything's happening to teach you something, to get the lesson. Sagittarius is higher education and learning, one of the journeys that we go on, where we can really find ourselves in the world and find the meaning. So we're dealing here with a fire sign, and the fire signs are very much, well, all the signs are, but the fire signs very much remind us to stay directly connected to source, direct to that galactic center. So this is a great practice to see yourself as consciousness having an experience, but realize that your mind is just a repeat story that you've taken personally and seriously.
I was just thinking that something that can help as well to bring us into connection with ourselves is developing a meditation practice if you don't have one already. And if the word meditation scares you or puts you off, think of it as a time for you to nurture you, time for you to reflect. Because as though you were saying, Sagittarius is about wisdom and knowledge. And when we slow down and we stop and pause, that's when this knowledge can come through. And that's when we can be discerning as well with ourselves. And we can meditate really anywhere. We could be on our yoga mat or sitting outside in nature, just somewhere where it's possible to be still and quiet. And something I was reading earlier about helping us to get into that meditative state is to close your eyes and become aware of your breath, but to count down from 10 to 1 and visualize yourself inside going down in a lift or going down some stairs, whatever it might be, but you'll find that it really takes you into a much deeper place. And then something else that you can do is a breath work practice, inhaling in 3 parts through the nose, lightly holding the breath, and then exhaling in 1 breath through the nose and lightly holding the breath out, and just repeating this and continuing for about 3 to 4 minutes. And you'll find that it brings a real feeling of peace and presence. So as Zoe, you were saying earlier, Sagittarius is the energy of wisdom, memories, community, and ancestors. Think about your ancestors, their wisdom, all that they experienced for you to be here today. And also think about what you want to leave for future generations. What part are you playing that is helping to keep things moving forward and keep our planet in a healthy way?
Yeah, so meditation actually has Medi in it, which is the middle. Just like pyramid is fire in the middle. And the pyramid were on one level, meditation chambers. So meditation doesn't have to be going to a class every day and setting up a routine like that. It can be 2 or 3 minutes. It can be something you do before you get out of bed every morning. And a really great practice is to, before you get up in the morning, to set the tone for your day, because Sagittarius likes to expand. So to visualize yourself as a soul returning to Earth with a purpose, because this gives us the bigger picture. Part of the distraction and the opposite of Gemini is constantly being in your small story. But if you visualize yourself as a soul coming back to Earth with a purpose, you're going to break that timeline and expand into your eternal soul purpose. And when you do that, then not only have you changed your perspective for the day, but you can radiate that out into the world before you step out of bed in the morning. So you can imagine yourself stepping into a golden pond and the waves go outwards, as Sagittarius is the sun's expansion. And this very much sets your day from sovereignty, from higher awareness, from connected with your consciousness, and from you being sovereign and setting the tone, rather than getting up with an alarm clock and a to-do list and getting straight into that worrying little mind.
I really love that thought of thinking of a soul returning after we've been journeying overnight. I love that thought. And yes, and stepping into that golden pond. That's great. Lovely idea. So in today's podcast, what we have been talking about is the energies of Sagittarius and what can come up with these energies, the fire within, the ancestors, the not feeling connected with self and others, and the lonely and the alone, and how these can impact us in our daily life, but also then ways to bring us more into relationship with self, so that we can ride the waves when we're in those periods of lower vibration. And these are just different ways of connecting with self. So whether it's through the meditation, through just becoming aware of your how you're feeling. Notice where you're feeling the energy in your body, and notice how it makes you feel when you have that feeling, and then thinking about different ways of being able to shift it, and whether that might be meditating, or it might be dancing, or it might be doing some star jumps, whatever you feel like. I've started skipping again recently, so anything that is going to shift that energy for you and to bring in that fire so that it's really burning in a healthy way and in a bright way as well. And so, as you said about waking in the morning and really thinking about our day ahead in a positive way, rather than leaping out of bed with an alarm clock and grabbing a coffee and a to-do list, really take those few minutes when you first wake up to connect with self, because it really does set our day up.
Yeah, so to remember you're an eternal soul. Sagittarius is very connected to the entire universe. This is not just one lifetime. This is not just your little self. You're connected to source. And one of the ultimate practices you can have is to look at the mystery school teachings, at what has been true throughout time, as well as how you've been true throughout time, your place in time and space. And I think one of the shortest meditations you can have, and one of the truest truisms of the mystery school systems, is actually hidden in the symbol of the sun. So we're dealing with the sun for Sagittarius, and in astrology that's represented as a circle with a dot in the middle. And that is reminding us, I am in the all, and the all is in me. And that's your walking meditation. You're not this separate being in one lifetime that's running around. You're actually interconnected with all that is. You're a spark of source having an experience and reporting back from earth. The monad, or the sun, is very much, you're the dot in the circle. I am in the all, and the all is in me. And Sagittarius is connecting us back to our source self, to our full consciousness, and being that spark, that fire in the middle. So that's the depth that we're getting out of the human mind and into our cosmic connectedness and our place here on earth at this vital time.
Yes, definitely. And that brings me into thinking about the reason we created this whole series grew from a previous podcast series that I was running called Thinking Beyond the Negative Mind. And the theme for both these series has always been to offer support from a different aspect and to bring into awareness, starting to notice, how do you support yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally every day? In Thinking Beyond the Negative Mind, I talked with a variety of therapists working in powerful, holistic ways, and it seemed a very natural follow-on to create Transcending the Negative Mind, taking it into the wonderful esoteric world of astrology and walking through the astrological signs with support on how to manage the energies and understanding how much they influence our daily life. Sometimes we can think we're alone in how we feel, but more often than not, if you're feeling something, then when you chat to people, you find they're experiencing something similar. Thank you for walking through this astrological calendar with us. It has been really a joy to be doing it with Zoe and to bring all these different aspects in. And I know, Zoe, you're going to say a little bit more about this as well. And yeah, in some ways I will miss doing it, but also I know that because it's all recorded, we can go back and keep referring to it and referring to the different energies, because they will keep coming up for us.
Yeah, so we've had a wonderful time exploring intuitive astrology. Do listen to all the videos. They all apply to you. They're just the different energies that are all inside of you as we've walked around the deeper aspect of the zodiac, hopefully putting some of the esoteric knowledge back into an art form that's been made very plastic and personality based, taking you from the head to the heart. And as we're in Sagittarius and wrapping up this series, then we're expanding from that heart center and taking on a more sovereign way of living. We've hopefully given you lots of practical tips that you can go back and apply, because Capricorn likes to take the Sagittarius wisdom and then apply it to the physical world. And as we head into the rebirth of the sun, then what you can visualize is that you've taken a whole year, which is a perfect way to study astrology. And now you, with all of that knowledge gathered, you can get to the point of it, you can rebirth yourself, and you can expand into a whole new cycle.
Lovely. Really, really lovely. Zoe, what plans then have you? What is your next project? How does 2022 look for you?
Well, I feel that it's been wonderful to create, like you say, this legacy of 12 videos to transcend the negative mind. And that journey then takes us to our true self and to our depth and to our sovereignty. Very key word going forward for the age of Aquarius is sovereignty and being responsible for your transmission, which will always be from the heart, not the head. So once we wrap up this series and we've got this lovely gift that we can put a bow on and give everybody for 2021, then my plan for 2022 is to actually go deeper into the esoteric mysteries and possibly do a series of videos which studies the depth of the ancient mystery systems and how we can apply that into the modern world, because Aquarius is the star card, and the star card has 1 foot on land and 1 foot in the water, which reminds us we don't go tearing off on some new age fancy, but we actually go back and we find the ancient wisdom and how we can apply it to the modern world. So I'll be hopefully doing a series about the mystery school teachings, especially the universal laws, which are absolutely vital. And again, how we can apply that into our lives in the amazing year that's 2022, which is the master builder number, where we take everything that we are, we've let go of who we're not, and then we start to live from that very deep, mystical, empowered and sovereign place.
That sounds amazing. And I really, really look forward to listening to all of that. And yes, at the moment, it's just like there's so much chaos around that it's lovely to have these things to support each other through all of it. And it sounds like what you're doing next year definitely will help that as well, because things will shift and are shifting, as we know. My plans for 2022 are we had our first anniversary of Perth Wellness Centre this last November, and which is amazing because it's been a dream for a long time. And so it's watching that and co-creating there to help it blossom into a really recognized holistic centre for well-being. And then also my main focus is my book, which I say I'm finishing it. It is very nearly finished. It's interesting. It's been such a journey in itself, and it's very much about supporting self and well-being and the different aspects around that. And I've often questioned why it's taken a bit longer to finish, but I then know that there have been experiences that I have had myself that then are part of the book that I've almost needed to experience myself that have then enriched the book a bit further. So I'm looking forward to finishing that and getting that sorted. And yeah, looking forward to then definitely re-listening to these podcasts, because when we start again in Capricorn, I shall definitely be listening, reminding myself. So thank you to you all for listening to this. It's been really lovely sharing it with you. As always, if you have any questions at all, you are very, very welcome to contact either Zoe or myself. And Zoe, do you want to share where you can be found?
Certainly. The best way to contact me is zoehind7@gmail.com. Our details are posted under these videos on various social media, but I find emails the most elegant form of communication because you can actually deliver information in a way that the recipient has their own time to be able to go and receive it, if that makes sense, rather than all of this immediate messaging that we get on Instagram and Facebook and all these other platforms. But I do post my videos from my YouTube channel, Zoeastro. And on that channel, apart from these videos, I do a weekly video on what's going on this week and how we can apply it. So like a weekly cosmic weather forecast. If you listen to that enough times, again, over the course of a year, then you'll already be picking up intuitive astrology, because the way I teach astrology is that you already know it and I'm bringing it up and out of your cosmic memory rather than something intellectually difficult that you have to perceive and apply. So I've got all those videos on my YouTube channel, Zoeastro, and then these videos go onto my Facebook, AstroZo, and my Instagram, zoehind7, just for that reach and awareness, so that there's more people that can come and find them. So those are my best ways of staying connected.
Yeah, and I really encourage you to listen to Zoe's weekly videos because they are really helpful, really, really helpful. And also, as I said earlier, we can find ourselves in times where we think something's going on, we're not feeling so great, but actually listen to one of Zoe's videos and you'll think, oh, okay, that's why that's happening. And, we're in a Mercury retrograde. That's why everything's going wrong, or whatever it might be that's happening. So I really encourage you to listen to those. And you can email me at info@juliamelville.com. You can find all my information and details on my website, www.juliamelville.com. If you want to move your body, which is such an important aspect of how we are as well, you can join me for Kundalini Yoga on Friday mornings via Zoom at 7:00 for an hour and a quarter. I hope you all have a magical Christmas and a wonderful 2022. And thank you, Zoe, so much for joining me for this series.
Truly my pleasure. Wishing everyone well.